Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. Brothers and sisters, this particular presentation, I will hope, will not be long. You understand? But brothers and sisters, this presentation, brothers and sisters, is something that is needed. All right, to help set the record straight, to help set the truth back in the earth concerning several matters. All right, regarding the Sabbath, the observance of it, regarding clothing, brothers and sisters, and regarding the history of the evidence of the Exodus that we read of in the Bible itself. Once again, brothers and sisters, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. The Sabbath, the matter this explained. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath unto the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any manner of work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Brothers and sisters, this is coming out of the book of Exodus. All right? The book of Exodus, chapter 20. And what we're looking at in verse 10 there in the Hebrew, brothers and sisters, says it's following. Wayom hashbi'i Shabbat lahya Eloheka lo ta'ase kal malaka ata ubinka ubiteka abdeka wa amatka ubhemteka wa geraka asher bish areka. Brothers and sisters, this particular verse that we see right here, so what we're dealing with, brothers and sisters, it says what? Yom Hashbi'i, and the seventh day, Shabbat Laya Eloheka, a Sabbath to the Lord, to the Eternal, your God. Now, this is why, brothers and sisters, it is important to remember that since the Sabbath, brothers and sisters, is between man and the Most High. Brothers and sisters, we cannot and should not have to sit there and worry about what man would say concerning our observance of the Sabbath. And what I mean by that is what we're going to bring out in this particular presentation. The idea, the concept, the philosophy that, oh, well, because we are not in our homeland, that we cannot keep the Sabbath. Brothers and sisters, such is not the case. All right? So this is something we want to point out. Now, sometimes people go to Exodus 20 here, and it says, see, it says within thy gates. So does that mean that because we are not in our land and within our own gates that we can't keep it in our own apartment, in our own house? There is nowhere in the Torah where it says a person cannot keep the Sabbath outside of the land of Israel. Because the stipulations and the requirements of the Sabbath, as we will explain, brothers and sisters, in this particular teaching, in this particular aspect, it shows it to be observed throughout all your dwellings. And the teaching that then says, well, it means all your dwellings within the land of Israel. Then why will it not just say then, as long as you're in the land that I gave to your forefathers? See, the requirements concerning Passover in Deuteronomy 16, it distinctly says that you cannot do it just at any your given place, but at the place where the Lord thy God will cause his name to dwell. It does not say, however, that same stipulation concerning the Sabbath. So these are things we want to point out for edification purposes. All right, let's go on to the next slide. The Sabbath, Numbers chapter 28 and Numbers chapter 18. And on the Sabbath day, 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish, and 2/10 parts of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering, mingled with oil, and a drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, beside the continual burnt offering and the drink offering thereof. Now, that comes out of the book of Numbers, the 28th chapter. And this is used, brothers and sisters, by people who say that we can't keep the Sabbath, let's say in captivity or let's say in exile, because it says that you're supposed to do offerings on the Sabbath. Now, before we explain this logically, let's understand, brothers and sisters, that nowhere does it say that each and every single person is supposed to bring those 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish. Also, it says in Deuteronomy 12 that we are supposed to bring our offerings to the place where the Most High will cause his name to dwell. So we want to point out a couple of things concerning this kind of subject. To have a he lamb, which is a male lamb, brothers and sisters, requires funds. Deuteronomy tells us that there will always be poor in the land. So that shows us that not everybody was able to afford to have 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish and 2/10 parts of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering or oil and a drink offering. Everybody didn't have it like that. That took funds. That took aspects of having some kind of economic base, financial base, even in the ancient world, to be able to afford such a thing. That's another thing we want to point out. So let's understand what Numbers 28 is talking about by going to Numbers chapter 18. And the Lord spoke unto Aaron, and I, behold, I have given thee the charge of my heave offerings, even of all the hallowed things of the children of Israel. Unto thee have I given them for a consecrated portion, and to thy sons as a due forever. This shall be thine of the most holy things, reserved from the fire. Every offering of theirs, every meal offering of theirs, and every sin offering of theirs, and every guilt offering of theirs, which they may render unto me, shall be most holy for thee and for thy sons. So, brothers and sisters, so when we read, brothers and sisters, in the book of Numbers, chapter 28, concerning the Sabbath, and it says 2/10 parts of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering. We already see on Numbers 18 that the meal offering that the children of Israel will bring is for Aaron and his sons. Now, concerning the Sabbath, the particular meal offering was 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish. And in that particular case, brothers and sisters, we begin to see, know, and understand that the sons of Aaron in a consecrated place will offer on the Sabbath 2 he lambs in regards to the children of Israel, brothers and sisters. And it says this is to be done every Sabbath beside the continual burnt offering. The continual burnt offering is the offering that's done in the day and the offering that's done at night, that you also read of in Numbers chapter 28. So are we, brothers and sisters, with the concept in the mind of some of the Israelites that say that we cannot keep Sabbath in the lands of our exile or captivity based on Numbers 28? It doesn't tell you in Numbers 28 that you can't do it. Because we want to point out that not every Israelite brought the offering each and every single day or each and every single week. It was brothers and sisters from the Israelites who can afford such that brought it to the Levites as a free will offering, which was then, brothers and sisters, made into the offering made by fire. So this is something, brothers and sisters, that we want to sit there and point out for edification purposes. All right? So the teaching that says that does not hold any weight. Next slide. Numbers 18 in the matter of the Levites. Moreover, thou shalt speak unto the Levites and say unto them, when ye take of the children of Israel the tithe, which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then you shall set apart of it a gift for the Lord, even a tenth, even a tithe of the tithe. And the gift which he set apart shall be reckoned unto you, as though it were the corn of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. Thus ye also shall set apart a gift unto the Lord of all your tithes, which ye receive of the children of Israel, and thereof ye shall give the gift which is set apart unto the Lord to Aaron the priest. So of the offerings given to the Levites, the priest gets a part of that. All right? So with all of this now in mind, brothers and sisters, that the children of Israel give unto the Levites a portion, and of the Levites' portion they give a part of it unto Aaron. This is how the Aaronites, the priests, would eventually wind up having lambs sufficient enough for the 4 lambs that's to be offered every Sabbath. Next slide. Now let's think for a second. The place where the temple would be located is in Jerusalem, as we see here upon the map, brothers and sisters, right? Now, with that being the case, if you lived, say, in the northern part where Asher, Naphtali, or Manasseh here was, or even where Gad was, would you cross the Jordan River each and every single week with 2 lambs? Because in order to get, brothers and sisters, from the east side of where the land of Israel was to the western portion of where the children of Israel were, you would have had to, brothers and sisters, cross the Jordan River. Would that have been done every day? Would that have been done each and every single Shabbat? No, brothers and sisters. This is what we want to point out, that Israelites who cite Numbers chapter 18 in regards to 2 lambs are not thinking. Because first off, not every Israelite would have been traveling like that on the Shabbat. One. Secondly, not every Israelite can afford the 2 lambs for every single week. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. But when you don't want to keep the Shabbat, you will sit there and try to find each and every single reason not to do so. But you're not going to find that within the law, statutes, and commandments. There is a group of Israelites, if you want to call them that, who go and make posts, let's say on Facebook and so forth and so on, and actually want to invite other Israelites on, quote, said Saturday to be taught on how not to keep the Sabbath, or that they should not keep it. That's why I pointed out earlier that it says a Sabbath unto the Lord thy God. So since it's holy unto the Most High, you don't have to worry about what the Facebook naysaying people have to say. Oh, you can't keep it in this land. I remember discussing something of that with a person, right? And the same kind of group and people were saying, well, we can't really keep the Sabbath as a celebratory thing because we are here in our punishment. And the same person has a picture of a wedding outside of their profile. So I said, well, should we be getting married then? Because part of the curses, brothers and sisters, is that we are not to be having unity between a man and a woman. His eyes shall be evil against her, and her eyes shall be evil against him. So what's the point in saying that we can't keep the Sabbath because we are under punishment, but yet you want to promote marriage? Part of the punishment is the fact that we don't get along one with another. So therefore, we could begin to see the weak reasoning of the Israelites who don't want to keep the Sabbath. Just say you like the sister, you want to go out Friday night. Just say you like the overtime that you get on the weekend. Just be candid on that. But do not try to impose the idea that Israelites, even in the ancient world, would have came all the way from Asher or Naphtali, according to their breakdown and poor understanding of Numbers 8:28, and say they went all the way here to Jerusalem each and every single week. Brothers and sisters, that doesn't make any sense in logic. You understand? Because you have it, when you get right down into it, brothers and sisters, unfortunately, over 65,000 Israelites who died in the time of David. So, brothers and sisters, if we were to take, right, a calculator, 65,000 times 2 gives you 130,000. So over 130,000 lambs, according to that teaching, would have been brought to Jerusalem each and every single week. That would have never been sufficient and wise enough for them to even sit there and offer all of that. They would have not had the manpower to sit there. If we were to think that Numbers chapter 28, let's go back there and read so we can see what we're talking about. Numbers 28 says, and on the Sabbath day, 2 he lambs of the first year without blemish. Now, if we were to take that thinking and sit there with knocking Torah, but knocking the idea that some people have. You would think, brothers and sisters, that Naphtali, Dan, Asher, and Manasseh will all come down here to Jerusalem and have altogether over 130,000 lambs of the first year without blemish. That doesn't make any sense. So, not to be redundant, brothers and sisters, the teaching that says, Numbers 28, about the lambs that are offered, as we pointed out, must be understood from Numbers chapter 18, when it distinctly says, anything that the children offer to you shall be their meal offering. So on the Sabbath day, it was only 4 lambs offered, the 2 for the Sabbath and the 2 that is done each and every single day, including the Sabbath. That's why everybody is not a teacher in the house of Israel. That's why Facebook teachers, brothers and sisters, have led many astray. Just be candid. You want the overtime on Saturday. Just be candid. The sister is attractive to you, so you want to take her out on her day off on Saturday afternoon. That's all there is to it. There's no Torah understanding of that kind of breakdown. All right? So let's understand and go on for edification purposes. Leviticus matter. Neither from the hand of a foreigner shall you offer the bread of your God of any of these, because their corruption is in them. There is a blemish in them. They shall not be accepted for you. So we already see right here in Leviticus, brothers and sisters, that the offerings that will be made from your own people out of your own livestock. So we wouldn't, in the land of our exile, offer that which comes from another person, or even in our own land, offer that which comes from another person. All right? Brothers and sisters, the community of Israelites that want to teach, we can't keep no commandments, get away from them. That's the man that would sleep with your wife and say, well, you can't do no judgments in here, so, well, it is what it is. Go away from that energy. Go away from the energy that tells you, well, it says in the land, you shall keep all these statutes and commandments, because that kind of break down ideology and understanding. They don't understand that there are laws for girls, there are laws for boys, there are laws for the priests, there are laws for elders, there are laws for men, and there are laws for women. There are laws for the judges, there are laws for the king. So when we read, brothers and sisters, in understanding, to keep all the commandments, we're talking about that which only will apply to you. For instance, I am a male. The laws of Leviticus 15, for the most part, after verse 19, do not apply to me. If a woman have the flow of blood, I'm not a woman. No blood flows from me monthly. The laws, brothers and sisters, of Leviticus 15, verses 16, 17, and 18, if the flow of seed go from a man, that does not apply to a girl. Only verse 18 applies of that with a man and a woman. Read the law for understanding purposes. Not to try to sit there and say, well, we don't have to do this and we can't do that and we shouldn't be doing this, because the man that teaches that will be the same man that will want to sleep with your wife. And because we are in captivity and you can't knock his head off, they want to sit there and say, well, you can't do no judgments. That's a wicked individual right there, brothers and sisters. The lawless crew, the people who don't understand when it says in Lamentations, the Sabbath is no more. Lamentations is not law, statutes, and commandments. Lamentations is Jeremiah's weeping, not brothers and sisters to be followed. Lamentations also says they hang the men up by their hands. So are we to sit there and say, hey, you can lynch me by using my hands? That is a foolish teaching, brothers and sisters. Let's go on to the next slide. A matter to explain. Yimza ish na ara betula. Ashelo ora sa. Ut pasha. Ushakab ima. Wanim za'u. Does the Torah teach rape is right? Question mark. And we want to state that the Torah does not teach that rape is right. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, that is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found. It's another teacher to have to explain to show you that not everyone online is a teacher, brothers and sisters. The sick teaching, brothers and sisters, that come from some Israelites that says, well, if a man rapes a woman, he would have to sit there and just give her father some shekels. That's not what that says. This portion that we read in the Torah comes, brothers and sisters, out of the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22. It says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, that is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her. Now, that's the thing we want to point out. The part, brothers and sisters, that says, and lay hold on her, a virgin that is not betrothed. Do you know the kind of working game that a man has to have for a virgin to be sexual active with him? A virgin is not easy to coerce sexually. You understand? And lie with her, and they be found. Wanim za'u, and they be found. They be found. Mem zadeh aleph, mazah to find. Nimza to be found. Nim za'u. They were found. Wah, nim za'u. While consecutive, as explained in another video, and they will be found. Brothers and sisters, this portion that we see here in Deuteronomy 22 is not speaking in this verse here of rape. We know that because it distinctly says, and they be found. Brothers and sisters, the virgin, the woman that is raped, is not found. She lets herself be found. So this portion we're talking right here, brothers and sisters, we must know and understand, is speaking in regards to what was done consensually. That's why the portion we want to emphasize on when it says and lay hold on her, the root word pasa or pasha. The same root word there means to manipulate, because you got to sit there and work on the mind of a virgin in order for her to be sexually active with you. This is what we want to point out in that particular regard. Next slide, please. The matter continued. When Atana Isha Shokev Ima, La Abi Hana'ara Kamishim Kesef, Walo, Tiye La Isha Takat Ashir Inalo Yukal Shalka Kal Yamayu. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. Brothers, sisters, this is not to be redundant nor slanderous, but there is a community that's out there teaching if a man rapes a woman, he has to sit there and marry her. That's not what that says, brothers and sisters. What that says in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verses 28 and 29, it says, and the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. Remember, we read in the portion, it says, and they be found. If it was a rape matter, you wouldn't have to say, and they be found. That means that they was both consensual and the matter came out, and they did not expect it to come out, because a rape victim is going to cause herself to be found out about it. Whereas a person, a female who wanted to keep that on the low, did not want it to come out, and it came out via pregnancy. And then it came out, somebody done walked into the room. Brothers and sisters. So this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. The explanation. Wahashtiya kadat ein ones. Kikain yisad hamelek. Al kara beto. La asot kirazon ish wa ish. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Brothers and sisters, the highlighted part there in the English that says compel, and the highlighted part there that says ones, that is the word for rape in Hebrew. Anas is the root word, brothers and sisters, in that regard, meaning rape. So the word shakab does not mean rape. The word ina does not mean rape. The word anas and present tense ones means compel or rape. That's what we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Thank you. Another matter to address. Lo ye keli geber al isha. Welo yelbash gebel. Simla isha. Ki to abat yode wahe eloheka. Ko ose ele. A woman should not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For whosoever doeth these things is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Now, before we get into the aspect of, quote, pants, let's understand that a male is not supposed to wear a stocking cap. That's a woman's garment. A man is not supposed to sit there and have on the apparel of a female, nor the female an apparel of a male. But what we want to point out is that there is a group, one more time on Facebook, that is out teaching brothers and sisters that the Hebrew word we see here, geber, doesn't mean man. But they're saying that the word geber means a mighty one, like a warrior or a soldier. So these teaching from mainly, no offense intended, mostly sisters and some men who don't want to sit there and be that, quote, alpha male in his house, perhaps. Well, my woman just does whatever, and can't no man tell my woman she can't wear pants. She's telling you as her man, she's going to wear what she's going to wear. And you debate other men when other men say that a sister should not wear pants. Who is ruling who? Desire in that relationship is from which energy to the other. You will find a lot of brothers who will bash other brothers who teach that a sister should not wear pants are the same kind of men who are afraid of losing their woman. They don't want to lose her, so they will sit there and say, when these brothers teach that a woman should wear pants, you let me know so I can tell them, yes, my son. I mean, man, I got you. You understand? So let's go in, brothers and sisters, because a lot of times you will find those who will try to go into the Hebrew and pray and hope others don't have knowledge of the Hebrew language or understanding, brothers and sisters. And what I found out in discussing this kind of matter, the spirit of the sisters who sit there and disagree with this kind of teaching, I'm like, wow, is it that serious? Calling people outside their name and disrespect and so forth and so on. Or because you want to wear something that many of our great grandmothers did not wear. You're not going to find any image from the early 1900s or even the late 1800s of our women elders wearing pants. And trust, those women went through a whole lot. Those women went through a whole lot with their skirts on. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we want to point out for edification purposes. So we want to emphasize on the word geber because the teaching from the Facebook people is that the word geber doesn't mean man, but it means a mighty one or a soldier. So therefore, a woman can wear a male's clothing as long as it's not the clothing or the utensil of a warrior. That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying a woman should never carry a sword. Next slide. Exodus chapter 22, verse 28, and Exodus chapter 12, verse 13 in Hebrew. For every matter of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lawless thing, whereof one saith, this is it, the cause of both parties shall come before God. He whom God shall condemn shall pay double unto his neighbor. Al Kadabar Pesha, Al Shor, Al Kamor, Al Se, Al Salma, Al Kal Abeda, Asher Yomar Kihu Ze, Ad Ha Elohim Yabo, the Baal Shenehem, Asher Ya Shi'un, Elohim, Yishalem Shenayim Le're'ehu, Vayisa Ha'am, Et, Bezekwo, Terem, Yechmatz, Mish Ar Rotam, Zerurot, Basim Lotam, Al Shikhamah. Let's look at the Hebrew brothers and sisters so we can understand what we're talking about. Salma, translated there as raiment, which means clothing. Their clothes. Sim Lotam, Sin, Lamed, Mem, Sin, Mem, Lamed, Tau, Mem, Sophie. Brothers and sisters, the word Simla, brothers and sisters, means clothing. The word Salma means raiment or clothing. This is what we want to point out for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. Salma, translated as raiment. Simna, translated as clothes. So let's understand where we're going in this particular aspect. Next slide. Jeremiah chapter 18 and Leviticus chapter 15 in Hebrew. Wenishkat hakli ashel hu ose bakober bayad hayot zer washab waya'athehu kili aker ka ashel yashar be'ene hayot zer la asot. And whensoever the vessel that he made of the clay was marred in the hand of the potter, he made it again another vessel as seemed good to the potter to make it. Leviticus 15. Wakal hanogeya, wakal kili, asher tesheb alayo, yakabes begadai warachat bamayim, watame ad ha'are. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sitteth upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. The word we see here, kili, translated as the word vessel. The word we see here, wakal kili, translated as toucheth anything, because the word nogea from naga means to touch. All right, wakal kili, anything, in all vessels, in anything. A vessel is a thing. So these are things, brothers and sisters, we want to point out and show for edification purposes. Next slide. Genesis chapter 7:18 and Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 5 in Hebrew. Wayigberu hamayim, wayirbu me'od al haaretz, watelek hateba al pene hamayim. And the waters prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5, and this is the punchline, if you will. Ko amar yo'odewahe, arur hageber asher yibtaka ba'adam, wasam basar z'ra'o, umin yo'odewahe yasur libo. Thus saith the Lord, curses the man that trusteth in man, and make his flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from the Most High. What, brothers and sisters, do we see right there? Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5. The word geber is translated there as man. The word Adam is translated there as man. So the teaching that says geber does not mean man, but means a warrior, a champion, or a soldier only. Are we to read Jeremiah 17 as, thus saith the Lord, cursed be the warrior that trusteth in man? No, brothers and sisters. There's more than one Hebrew word for the word man. And being that we are told to be Gebarim, or mighty ones, or champions, we can see that the man, this is why I say men who are acquiescing to their females too much, where he doesn't want to, quote, put his foot down or be the alpha male, if you will. Those men who want to be the beta male, if you will, they don't have that strength. They're just like a nefesh or a soul, and not an ish or a chief or an adam, meaning one who is of a strong blood type. That's the whole nother meaning about the word adam, but that's another subject. Or a geber from gabar, which means to be mighty. So we as men are meant to be mighty, brothers and sisters. So this is something we want to point out. Let's go back so we can begin to see where this was coming from for edification purposes. We want to, okay, go back to Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. Lo yihye kili geber. We explained kili means vessel, as we said, or anything from Leviticus chapter 15. Geber. Now, this is the word where you see there, brothers and sisters, that they always want to sit there and try to say, oh, if you look at that right there, it says a warrior, a mighty one. So a woman, by default, then, can sit there with that understanding, wear the garment of an ish or an adam. No, she cannot. And with the teaching of saying that geber does not mean man, as in a human only, but also means, it only means a warrior. You're saying then in the book of Judges, when Jael in the book of Judges hit Sisera with the tent pin, that she was wrong. Because that will be the utensil, brothers, sisters, of a mighty one or a soldier. Are the women to not be a geberet or a champion or a mighty woman? But they so comfortable in that piece of denim dyed, which is already in most cases mixed fabric in this society, which goes against the laws of Leviticus in the first place, to where they want to sit there and say they are just so comfortable with their pair of pants on. I state again, you're not going to show a picture of great-great-grandmother with a pair of pants on. Women did not start wearing pants, brothers and sisters, until the era of the 1920s. And even then, it was deemed illegal. But with the women's lib movement, wearing pants was one of the things that they felt that they should be equal to do, according to wanting to be equal to a man. That was a European people's argument, not our people's argument, brothers and sisters. You understand? Let us go on to the next slide so we can begin to understand what we're talking about for edification purposes. All right? Thank you. Let us continue, brothers and sisters. Hebrew of the Israelites and Jewish. All right? Yehuda, the word that you see there, brothers and sisters. Yehudi, the word that you see there. There are some, one more time, the Facebook teachers where they say the Hebrew word for Jewish is Yehudi. That's not the Hebrew word for Jewish, brothers and sisters. There is no Hebrew word for Jew or Jewish. But just like the spirits of the controlling, such as the women with the pants on, such as the man not understanding his role and his place, there are unfortunate Israelites who do not know the language enough to be able to combat the situation. When somebody who is European and says they are Yehudi and they try to say that that means Jew or Jewish. Let's go on, brothers and sisters, and explain what this is talking about. Next slide. Menashe, the word that you see there on the left-hand side. Menashi, the word you see there on the right-hand side. Brothers and sisters, Menashe is one of the tribes of Israel. Manasseh said in English transliteration. The definition of Menashi is one of Menashe. All right? The definition of Yehudi is one of Yehuda. The letter Dalet, we want to emphasize, never drops off in Hebrew. So how does Yehuda become Yehudi to be translated into the word Jew or Jewish when the D or the Dalet never drops out in Hebrew? That doesn't work. No more than saying Menashe, which means Manasseh, which means one who causes to forget, literally. All right? Such as that, Menashe becomes Menashi, brothers and sisters, so does Yehuda become Yehudi. So just like the Dalet doesn't drop out there, the Noon, the Sheen, and the Hey, the Noon, the Sheen, this becomes a Yod. So we want to emphasize, brothers and sisters, back for edification purposes, all right? You see how the Dalet and the Hey, Yehuda, will become Yehudi. The Dalet, then the Yod. Now, when we deal, for instance, to show for connection purposes, the Dalet and the Yod, here we see Dalet and the Hey become the Dalet and the Yod, right? We see the Sheen in the Hey becomes a Sheen in the Yod. This Yod signifies that which is possessive in the first person. Menasai, Yehudi, Menashi is Menashite, one of Manasseh. So therefore, by default, Yehudi, as seen in the book of Zechariah in Hebrew, Yehudi, brothers and sisters, will become one of Judah in translation. So these are things we want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide. Yisrael explained, and he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for thou hast striven with God and with men and has prevailed. Wayomer, lo Yaakov, Amir od Shimka, ki im Yisrael, ki sarita, im Elohim, wa im anashim, watukal. Sarah means to prevail in Hebrew. It is a lamed hey verb due to the fact that it ends with the letter hey. In the conjugation in the past tense, the hey drops. Thus we see sarita and not sarata. So the highlighted red part which says sarita. If you drop off that ta sound, you get sari. But the only reason why you see that yo there is because when a lamed hey verb, brothers and sisters, is conjugated in the past tense, you don't say sarata, just like you don't say asata. You say asita, meaning you did. Sarita, meaning you prevailed. All right? The yod is the prefix in Israel, meaning third person masculine singular. That's why you see yod, sin, resh, aleph, lamed. The word misra means dominion. So Sarah, when you put a mem in front of it, it becomes misra. The word misra, as pointed out, means dominion. So we just want to point that out. So the word Yisrael, brothers and sisters, the definition of such is El will prevail. God will prevail. That is what that means in literal sense. Some people say that Israel in Hebrew means Prince of God. God will rule. Those are other definitions and translations, but we want to sit there and get to the actual literal linguistic definition of the word or translation of the word Yisrael. All right? So let's go on to the next slide. Thank you. From the Israelites to the Jewish people. During the era when the ancient Israelites were under the hegemony of the Greeks then Romans, there was a people named Idumeans who were in the biblical times known as Edomites. They, when the Israelites fell to the Romans in the 1st century AD, went to Europe and in time infused with the people known as the Khazars. These Khazars adopted the ways of the Israelites through the Edomites, who were later pushed into Western Europe and became greatly known today as the Ashkenazi and in part Sephardic Jews. So this, brothers and sisters, is what we want to point out for edification of purposes. From the Israelites to the Jewish people, brothers and sisters, the celebration of Hanukkah or Hanukkah, that is when the Israelites, the real Israelites, defeated the army of Antiochus IV in the battle of Beth Zur in 165 BCE. All right? What happened was, we noticed in, quote, Judaism, they seem to focus on a commercialized form of Hanukkah with dreidels and gift giving and so forth and so on. Whereas the true observance of Hanukkah or Hanukkah was the actual rededication of the temple that Ezra and Nehemiah had built. The situation, though the Israelites did defeat the Greeks, brothers and sisters, was the same time when the Edomites were penetrating themselves into where the land of Israel was. The nephew of the leader of the Maccabees by the name of John Hyrcanus, he is the nephew of Judah Maccabeus. Judah Maccabeus had a brother named Simon Maccabeus. Simon Maccabeus' son was named John Hyrcanus. John Hyrcanus, brothers and sisters, in the 2nd century BCE, made the people in history known as the Idumeans, aka the Edomites, conform to the ways of the Israelites. When the Israelites eventually, unfortunately, fell, to the Greeks and the Romans. These Idumeans, aka Edomites, learning the ways of the Israelites, winded up migrating into Europe. And when they wound up going above where the area of Turkey is, they ran into the people known as the Khazars. The Khazars later on adopted the Israelite ways, learning it from the Edomite people. When the Khazars were pushed into Western Europe by the army of Genghis Khan, the Mongolian man, we begin to see how you find other people in Western Europe becoming what you call Jewish. So this is why we want to point this out for edification purposes. Next slide. The aspect of the word Jew. Jew comes from the Middle English, J-E-U, which came from the French, G-I-U, which came from the Latin, Iudaeus, I-U-D-A-E-U-S, which came from the Greek, Iudaeus, I-O-U-D-A-I-O-S, which came from the Aramaic, Yahudah, Y-E-H-U-D-A-Y, which came from the Hebrew, Yehudi, Y-E-H-U-D-I, which came from Yehuda, Y-E-H-U-D-A-H / Judah. So etymology, we want to point something out and follow the arrow. Judah, the D is there. Yehuda, the D is there. Yehudi, the D is there. Yehudah, the D is there. Even when we get to the Greek, Iudaeus, the D is there. In the Latin, Iudaeus, the D is there. But when we get from the Latin to the French, what happened to the D sound? This, brothers and sisters, that you see in the slide come from the dictionary Underbridge by Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster's Underbridge Webster's Dictionary. You know the real big, thick dictionaries? That's, brothers and sisters, where this breakdown and translation comes from. What happened to the sound of the D from the Latin to the French? Brothers and sisters, it dropped off somewhere along in translation. The matter linguistically comes down to the fact that the Jews, Yehudim, mentioned in the Bible are those who are from the southern kingdom of Judah. Thus the Greek take and later French take, thus the English take of Jew is not the same as that of Yehudim, those who are of Judah, the kingdom of Judah or the ethnic people of Judah. So brothers and sisters, this is something we want to point out for edification purposes, if we will. Next slide. Passover. The Passover was observed many times in ancient Israel. Hezekiah era in 2 Chronicles 30, and in Josiah era in 2 Chronicles 35. There is a record called the Passover Papyrus, which dates to the era of Dynasty 27 in Egypt, when the Israelites were in Elephantine Island, which is close to the Sudan. Passover cannot be traced to another nation celebration, unlike Easter. See, with Easter, you can trace it to this of the Druids and this of the Romans and this of that. But you can't trace Passover to the culture of another people. All right? So that's something we want to point out for edification purposes. Passover in existence is evidence that the Israelites existed and that the Israelites do exist. Next slide. The Passover of the Israelites. The book of Exodus speaks of the Most High, bringing the Israelites from the land of Egypt out of the house of bondage. Let us see a matter explained. The house of Israel, a reason and understanding. The plagues that we see of in the book of Exodus brought on the Egyptians were an attack on their pantheon of gods. The sea, the river turned into blood as an attack on the Egyptian god Hapi. The frogs was an attack on the Egyptian god Hequet. The lice was an attack on the Egyptian god Set. The flies was an attack on the Egyptian god Utshit. The death of the cattle was an attack on the Egyptian god Apis. Boils and blains was an attack on the Egyptian gods Bes and Orset. Hail and fire was an attack on the Egyptian gods Nut and Jeb. The locust was an attack on the Egyptian gods Nut and Asar. The darkness was an attack on the Egyptian god Aten. The death of the firstborn was an attack on the Egyptian gods Sekhmet and Heru. So brothers and sisters, we want to show that when it says that the Most High will execute judgments on the gods of Egypt, each of the plagues was an attack on a god or gods, in God says, of the ancient Egyptians. Next slide. The house of Israel, reason and understanding. Moses, wishing to secure his hold over the people, gave them a novel form of worship, opposed to all that is practiced by other men. What we just read brothers and sisters, come from Tacitus, the Roman historian. He says, Moses, speaking about Moses in the Bible, Moses, wishing to secure his hold over the people, gave them a novel form of worship, opposed to all that is practiced by other men. The word novel means new or different. So Moses, wishing to secure his hold over the people, gave them a new or different form of worship, opposed to all that is practiced by other men. Matters of diet, uncleanness, washing, and sacred days. Quite different is their way about things divine. The Egyptians worshiped many animals and images of monstrous form. That comes, brothers and sisters, out of the Roman historian Tacitus, where it says, quite different is their, meaning the Hebrews, way about things divine. The Egyptians worship many animals and images of monstrous form. So what we're going to do now, brothers and sisters, is take the time out and read the portion that we see there. Deuteronomy chapter 4, if we will. Verse 15. Because according to Tacitus, the Roman historian, it says that Moses gave the Israelites a form of worship that's quite different than other men. So let's see what that could be talking about. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 15. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yah spoke to you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. These ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. At least thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldst be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yah, your God, have divided unto all the nations under the whole heaven. So, see, the Israelites did not, in their primitive culture, not ideology, not taking on a cultural diffusion, but the Israelites, before they got to their promised land, was told that they are not to worship the likeness of any beast that is on earth, of any winged fowl that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground. So the doodle beetle that the ancient Egyptians worship on the seal of Hezekiah, Israelites was told to not worship that. The likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. The likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. So therefore, the Dagon, god of the Philistines, the house of Israel was told to not worship that. The Dagon fish god of the ancient Philistines. Did you know that Christianity's original symbol was a fish? Look it up. The original symbol of Christianity was a fish. We are not to worship the gods of the peoples that are round about us, O house of Israel. So the God of the Christians, he does not get worshipped either. Lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. So we don't worship Heru and Oset. We don't worship the Madonna of the Romans. We don't worship Aphrodite of the Greeks. We don't worship Diana of the Romans. We don't worship the Dagon of the Philistines. We do not worship, brothers and sisters, the Baal of the people of Canaan. We worship the true and the living God, Yah Elohim. That he is the one who is due the worship and the praise. So let us go to the next part, because we can see already that the cultures between each of those people is different. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 4. And what do we see, brothers and sisters, in that regard? Moses commanded us the law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. So when we see centuries after Moses, the Roman historian Tacitus saying what about Moses? Was it to secure his hold over the people? The people we just read in Deuteronomy 33 is the congregation of Jacob, the Israelites, gave them a novel, a new or different form of worship, opposed to all that is practiced by other men. Quite different is their way about things divine. The Egyptians worshiped many animals and images of monstrous form. The Israelites were told to not bow down to golden calves. So the people who want to say, well, the Torah, that is a copy of the Egyptian culture. That teaching saying that the Torah is a plagiarism out of Egypt came from a guy by the name of Sigmund Freud, who was a Mason. He wrote a book called Moses and Monotheism. In that book, he attempts to compare the culture of the Torah and the teachings of Akhenaten. But brothers and sisters, the teachings of Akhenaten go against this right here of the Torah. Deuteronomy chapter 17. Let's start in verse 2. One more time. We are in Deuteronomy 17, verse 2. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that have what wickedness in the sight of Yah thy God, and transgression his covenant, and have gone and served other gods, and worshiped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded. Now, Akhenaten of dynasty 18 of Egypt, his teaching and philosophy would have been against what we just read in Deuteronomy 17. Akhenaten took on that name. And Aten, as we pointed out, brothers and sisters, right? When you look at where it says darkness, attack on Aten, Aten, Aten inside of ancient Egyptian culture was the literal sun. And they used to worship the sun and sing hymns and praises to the sun. So, brothers and sisters, we know good and well that before Sigmund Freud wrote his book called Moses and Monotheism, we know good and well, brothers and sisters, that other historians stated no, what Moses gave the people is different. See, Tacitus would have been seeing more of a raw Egyptian culture. Tacitus would have been around more of a Hebrew culture as well. And even he noticed, no, this culture between the two ain't the same. The Egyptians did not state that they were the teachers of the Hebrews. The Hebrews did not state that they were taught by the Egyptians. It was another person who was neither Hebrew, named Sigmund Freud, nor Egyptian, named Sigmund Freud, a Mason, who came up with that kind of ideology and teaching. So this, brothers and sisters, is something we want to point out for edification purposes, all right? Let's go. Next slide. The external matter concerning a matter. The Egyptians, the enslavers of the Israelites, were not too fond of the God of the Israelites. And what is referred to as the temple of West Amara and the temple of Soleb. The Egyptians left a record speaking of YHW of the Shasu, said to be erected by the kings of Dynasty 18. It speaks of YHW as their enemy god. This god, YHW, is not respected by the Egyptians. And later on in history, the temple of Yahoo, set up at Elephantine, was destroyed by the Egyptians. Now, the temple of West Amara, brothers and sisters, and the temple of Yahoo and Elephantine is centuries apart. So, what I want to focus on in this particular PowerPoint is the part that speaks of the temple at West Amara and the temple of Soleb. The Egyptians left a record speaking of the Yahweh or the YHW of the Shasu. Shasu is the Egyptian term meaning they who move on feet. How did the Israelites leave Egypt? On feet. Let's go on. Said to be erected by the kings of Dynasty 18. It speaks of YHW as their enemy god. The Egyptians, like the Greeks and the Romans and later Americans, were not and are not fond of the Hebrew ways, aka the Old Testament. Why do you think they call the book that the God of the Hebrews is noted for speaking in? That's the Old Testament. So what testament are you dealing with if it's not according to the God of the Hebrews in which he spoke? Did the God of the Hebrews speak in a New Testament? That's the question being presented, brothers and sisters. Because see, they banned, brothers and sisters, the reading of the Ten Commandments in schools. And not too long later, you find schools with metal detectors. You find schools with daycare centers due to the fact that there were sisters in high schools getting pregnant and no spouse and can't afford a babysitter. Not trying to knock sisters. I give sisters their respect for wanting to continue their education even though they wind up having a child while in the 11th or 12th grade. I commend those sisters for being strong to still say, I'm going to bring the baby to the daycare center in school while I go up and do math and science and then pick the baby up later. But you cannot respect, brothers and sisters, the fact that high schools, not too long after banning the reading of the Ten Commandments in school, that they got to have metal detectors. You don't want the Most High in there, another energy is going to come in. So I ask the question again. The Egyptians, like the Greeks and the Romans, and later Americans were not, and are not fond of the Hebrew ways, the Old Testament. So what testament are they dealing with? What testament are they fond of? When you find, and I know there are said messianics that are on this channel, subscribed and so forth. But we, so-called non-messianic, we Old Testament-based Israelites have an issue to ask, brother or sister. When you say an Israelite, another Israelite, is Torah-based, wouldn't you be Torah-based if Deuteronomy 28 that we see is still in the Torah? What are you based on if it's not the Torah? What are you based on if you're not based according to the Hebrew scriptures if we are the Hebrews? Wouldn't that be our scriptures? That's a question being posed. Because many brothers and sisters who deem themselves as messianic, or they who say other Israelites who are, quote, non-messianic, are Torah-based. So if you're not based on the Torah according to your own admission, we have to ask, what is your base on? Where is the platform and the common denominator? That is the question that's asked. Next slide. The aspect of what is referred to as Ipura. The Ipura papyrus is dated, according to many, to the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. The timing being the aspect of Dynasty 13 of Egypt. Part of it says, the river is blood. The female slaves are loose with their tongues. He who places his brother in the ground is everywhere. Scribes are killed and their writings are taken away. That's part, brothers and sisters, of the Ipura papyrus. It says scribes are killed and their writings are taken away. Could those writings that were taken away, and could those scribes who were killed, brothers and sisters, spoke about the frogs, the lice, the flies, the boils, the hail? Because Ipura also spoke about the hail. Could all 10 of those plagues be mentioned inside the writings that Ipura of Dynasty 13 spoke about when his papyrus says scribes are killed and their writings are taken away? Why are you killing your scribes, Kemet? Why are you silencing health professionals, America? Why are herbalist doctors being killed? Because you're messing up the American money and people being sick. Why is Ipura of ancient Egypt saying that scribes are killed and their writings are taken away? Because they were talking what the Egyptian royalty did not want have to be known. The ancient Egyptians were known for taking a record out of something and replacing it with something else. You understand? The ancient Egyptians have what they call a king's list. And who is referred to as Akhenaten, who is referred to as Hatshepsut, is not mentioned in many of them. Horemheb of Dynasty 18 of Egypt attempted to get rid of the memory of Akhenaten. Why? Because scribes are killed and their writings are taken away. This is something we want to point out for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. Next slide. A matter to be discussed. The Israelites built what is referred to as Pithom Ramses. Ramses was later was the later name for what was aforetime called Rawati, Perunefer, and later called Averis. The Israelites are responsible for the term Pharaoh to be known, since in Egyptian culture or ways, their rulers were referred to as Nisut. Pharaoh means Paro, from the word para or fara, which means to destroy in Hebrew. In Egyptian, the leaders slash Nisut took the name Paro, which means mighty house, and used it for themselves as a name in part. This was done in the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Why? Of all the said pharaohs to be found, Neferhotep and Amenemhat IV are not found. That's a question to the Kemetic community. Of all the said pharaohs to be found, Neferhotep and Amenemhat IV are not found. Could there be a reason for that? Shalom. Brick use aspect. Bricks were more popular in Sumer than in Egypt. The pyramids of the Middle Kingdom were made of mud brick by those called the Apiru, which is the Egyptian term for the Akkadian terminology Hapiru or Habiru, where we get the term Hebrew from linguistically. So, brothers and sisters, let's go, if we will, as cited there, to the book of Exodus, chapter 5, and see what it says. Exodus chapter 5, and we're going to read in verse 3. And they said, the God of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. Why would the Hebrews be called that even in their own writings? Because the term Hebrew in Egyptian will be said as Apiru. The Apiru is noted for being the brick makers. Now, for those who say that that picture just means from the tomb of Rekhmere, and they were just all working, as pointed out and asked in the past, where you see this arrow at? Why is this guy here just sitting down? And why is this guy you see here with a stick in one's hand and a stick in one's hand there? Why is it that all hands are not on deck? Simple. Everybody there was not working. Some were enslaved and some were the overseers. Exodus chapter 5, verse 7. You shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. So brick use was popular in the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. That's why you get into the mud brick pyramids of Dynasty 12 and Dynasty 13. All right, next slide. Terabit El Khadim, Shalom. The wind blowing, the sea dividing into parts. They pass over, the Hebrews flee through the sea. The sea is turned into dry land. The waters permitted and dismissed to flow, burst, rushing unawares upon the astonishment. Congregated from quarters banded together, the slave treacherously, being lifted up with pride. Their leader divideth asunder the sea, its waves roaring. The people enter and pass through the midst of the waters. Moses causes the people to haste. Like a fleet-winged sea ostrich crying aloud, the clouds shining bright. A mighty army propelled into the sea is gathering into one. They go jumping and skipping, journeying through the open channel, taking flight from the face of the enemy. The surge of the sea is divided. The people flee. The tribes descend into the deep. The people enter the waters. The people enter and penetrate through the midst. The people are filled with stupor and perturbation. Yahweh is the keeper of the companion. The enemies weep for the dead. The virgins are wailing. The sea flowing down overwhelmed them. The waters were let loose to flow again. The people depart fugitive. A mighty army is submerged in the deep sea, the only way of escape for the congregated people. Brothers and sisters, this is a writing that they found in the land of Sinai, referred to Serabit El Hadim. Look it up. You notice that it talks about the Hebrews, it talks about Moses, and it talks about the one who was the keeper of the companion being the Most High. Next slide. The matter regarding the Egypt book. There are many brothers and sisters who bought the book Egypt Talking Writing. Last year, I took that book out of print only because I don't deal with the publisher Create Space anymore. So the information in that book, most are willing, will be presented in the book that you see there on the left-hand side. Israelites respond to Kemetic claim, the evidence of the Exodus. The book on the left-hand side, most are willing, I intend to have released by Passover within the month of April of this year. So the book Egypt Talking Writing that you see on the right-hand side is currently the month of February now out of print. All right, but most are willing, working on doing the update of the book. And as any author knows, you cannot update a book and leave the exact same thing. You got to come with something that you didn't come with before. So, brothers and sisters, please bear with me as this book is going to be updated, and I will keep it, or I'll keep the people informed concerning the status of such when it's available. All right, giving thanks to the Most High for even the people who did patronize. Next slide. Deuteronomy 28, the updated book. This book is available on Amazon and on Lulu.com. It costs more on Amazon, yet it is shipped faster on Amazon. If one wants a signed copy, get in contact with me. That's a typo. 908-587-4841. Not 787. Sorry. The number is 908-587-4841. All right? Not 787. Pardon self. So this book that you see there on the left-hand side, pardon me, the right-hand side, is available on Amazon as well as Lulu.com. Next slide. This book you see right here, Hebrew is Easy, is available, brothers and sisters, on Amazon or on Lulu.com. 908-587-4841, not 787. That was a typo. All right, next slide. The updated book on being Old Testament based. This book is available on Amazon and Lulu.com because what I did was copy and paste it when I was making this PowerPoint. But I want to verbally state, brothers and sisters, that the number is 908-587-4841. 908-587-4841. Not 908-787. All right? That's a typo. It's 587. So, want that to be noted. This book, Old Testament Israelites Respond to Messianic Israelites, this book explains why we are said as, quote, Old Testament based. All right, next slide. The ad for the book. Tomorrow, which is the 24th of February, at 3 p.m., there will be a presentation, an ad for the book on Deuteronomy 28. The link is www.spreaker.com/BTV Ministries.com. The Facebook Live will be on Teleb, which is a Facebook page, as well as Mora Yeshaya, which is my Facebook page. So it's going to be on Teleb, which is Facebook Live, and Mora Yeshaya Yisrael, which is me, Facebook Live. All right, so I just want this to be noted for edification purposes, all right? So, Brothers and sisters, let's go over, brothers and sisters, the couple of aspects of what we were discussing. All right. There were several people who have inboxed me or texted me and asked me about the update of the Egypt Talk book. It is going to be updated and renamed. Israelites respond to Kemetic claims, the evidence of the Exodus. All right. And that is dated, most are willing, it would come out April of this year. I don't want to rush this book and updating it because then I find myself having to take it out of print, then redoing it. And the only reason why this book that you see on the right-hand side was taken out of print was because I no longer in business do business with Create Space as a publishing company. All right. So same thing, Deuteronomy 28. This book is already updated and available on Amazon as well as lulu.com. If you type in Yeshaya Yisrael on Amazon, right? On Amazon, you will begin to see the books that are available on there. All right. Same thing with this one, available on there. Same with this one, available on there. All right. So we just want this to be noted for edification purposes. Again, the number is 908-587-4841. Subscribe, share the link of this video, brothers and sisters, comment, constructive criticism is open. And want to sit there and take the time out now, brothers and sisters, to give a shout out to the people within the chat room here that able to be seen. Solj, Ya, Black Av, Kurt For Real, Benjamin Yisrael are the people that is seen in here, even though I noticed when I upload the video, there seems to be more views than it says 6 watching now, but I noticed that it seems to be more when it's already uploaded. So just want to sit there and shout out at least the people that I see within there. All right. So, brothers and sisters, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel, and shalom. There will be tonight no more particular teaching live. There will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm currently around my little one tonight in the state of North Carolina. So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to spend some time with her in that particular regard. So tomorrow, remember, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, www.spreaker.com/BTV miniseries. Shalom.